The Desert Awakening. February 19, 1943, 5:12 hours, Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. The desert is cold before sunrise. Wind slides through the mountain gap, carrying dust, engine smoke, and the faint metallic rattle of half-tracks idling below the ridgeline. German sentries pull their coats tighter. Somewhere in the dark, an American artillery battery test fires a single round. The sound echoes too cleanly, too confident. Field Marshal Erwin Rommel stands just behind the forward observation post, binoculars pressed to his eyes, boots planted in gravel hardened by weeks of tracked steel. He does not look tired. He looks alert, focused. The kind of stillness that comes when a commander senses something moving faster than reports can explain. Across the valley floor, headlights flicker, then vanish. Discipline. Concealment. Not British. Rommel lowers the glasses slowly. "That's him," he says, not to the officer beside him but to the desert itself. For weeks now the pattern has been the same. Allied units shifting with unnatural speed. Armor appearing where maps say nothing should be. Supply columns moving at night, radio chatter brief and purposeful. No hesitation. No pauses to consolidate. The tempo is wrong. This is not how cautious armies fight. Rommel turns to his chief of staff. "The Americans have changed," he says. "And they have put a dangerous man in command." The name is already on his mind. Georges Patton. Rommel has never seen Patton in person. He does not need to. He studies war the way others study faces, through movement, reaction, rhythm. And Patton's rhythm is unmistakable. Attacks launched before defenses fully settle. Armored thrusts that ignore flanks to rupture the center. Feints that look reckless until they work. Rommel has fought the British for years. He knows their habits, their pauses, their need for order. This is different. At dawn, Rommel rides forward to inspect a battered panzer regiment pulled back from a skirmish days earlier. The crews are shaken, not from losses but from confusion. The Americans did not stop when expected. Did not wait for reinforcements. They pressed through dust storms and broken roads, forcing engagements before German commanders could prepare layered defenses. One tank commander speaks carefully. "They kept coming, Herr Feldmarschall. Even when we thought they would regroup." Rommel nods once. He has already reached the conclusion. Later that morning, inside a command tent marked with grease-stained maps of Tunisia, Rommel addresses senior officers from Italian and German high command. The mood is confident. Reports suggest American units are green, poorly coordinated, vulnerable. Rommel does not raise his voice. He simply says, "You are underestimating your enemy." The room stills. He explains what he has seen, not in grand theories but in details. Timing. Speed. The way American armor is being used not defensively but aggressively. How radio silence is maintained until the moment of contact. How supply lines are being pushed dangerously forward, because Patton believes momentum matters more than safety. "This commander," Rommel says, tapping the map with a gloved finger, "does not wait for perfect conditions. He creates them." A general across the table scoffs lightly. "With respect, Herr Feldmarschall, the Americans lack experience. They rush because they do not know better." Rommel's eyes lift. "Sure. Come. Unforgiving." "No," he replies. "They rush because their commander understands something you do not." Silence again. Rommel continues. "Patton is not cautious. But neither is he foolish. He moves faster than our assumptions. Faster than our defenses. And if we treat him like the others, he will break us." Some officers exchange glances. Others smile thinly. Rommel's reputation as the Desert Fox commands respect. But this sounds like admiration for the enemy. Dangerous admiration. One staff officer mutters, "He believes his own legend." Rommel hears it. He does not respond. Instead, he folds the map, signaling the meeting's end. The warnings have been delivered. Whether they are accepted is no longer in his control. That night, Rommel sits alone outside his quarters, writing by lantern light. His notes are precise. No drama. Just facts. Observations. Predictions. Patton will not pause. He will exploit delay. If underestimated, consequences will be severe. He seals the message and sends it up the chain. Elsewhere, in an American command post miles away, a very different atmosphere fills the air. Engines roar late into the night. Orders are clipped. Inspections ruthless. A commander stalks between vehicles, voice sharp as broken glass. Patton does not sleep much. He believes war rewards speed, and punishes hesitation. As Rommel's warning moves slowly through Axis headquarters, bogged down by arrogance and old assumptions, Patton's armor is already aligning for the next push. Fuel is loaded. Routes memorized. Objectives simplified. Advance. Do not stop. Rommel looks once more toward the dark horizon. He has seen this before in other forms on other fronts. The moment when a war changes character. When old rules stop working. And he knows something his colleagues do not yet understand. The real danger is no longer coming. It is already here. The warning no one wanted to hear. February 23, 1943, 1440 hours, Axis High Command, Tunis. The room smells of ink, sweat, and stale cigarettes. Maps of North Africa cover the walls, their edges curled from constant handling. Red and blue pins mark positions that feel solid on paper, but fragile in reality. Rommel stands beneath a shaded lamp, jacket unbuttoned, cap set aside. His face is leaner than it was months ago. The desert has taken its share. So has command. Around the table sit senior German and Italian officers, men with medals, polished boots, and confidence hardened by hierarchy. They are discussing Kasserine Pass as if it were an isolated incident. A temporary embarrassment. A learning moment for the Americans. Rommel interrupts them. This is not an amateur enemy correcting mistakes, he says. This is a commander imposing tempo. A colonel frowns. With respect, Herr Feldmarschall, the Americans suffered badly at Kasserine. Their coordination was poor. Rommel nods. Yes. And they adapted immediately. He reaches for a report and reads aloud, not the conclusions but the raw observations. American units rerouted within hours. Artillery repositioned overnight. Armor regrouped without waiting for orders from above. Who does this? Rommel asks quietly. Who changes an army's behavior that fast? No one answers. Rommel moves to the map and traces a line west to east with his finger. Patton does not fight wars of attrition. He fights wars of motion. He attacks not where you are strongest, but where you hesitate. A general clears his throat. Our intelligence indicates Patton is impulsive. He wears ivory-handled pistols. He seeks glory. Rommel's eyes harden. So did Alexander. So did Caesar. The room stiffens. Rommel continues, his voice controlled. Do not confuse style with substance. Patton's discipline is brutal. His logistics are forward-leaning. His orders are simple because he demands obedience. He pauses, then adds, and he believes hesitation is a sin. A silence follows, not thoughtful but resistant. Another officer leans back. You are suggesting an American general outmatches seasoned European commanders. I am stating a fact, Rommel replies. On this battlefield at this moment. The resistance becomes visible now. Folded arms. Narrowed eyes. Pride bristling beneath uniforms tailored for ceremony as much as war. One Italian general speaks sharply. We cannot redesign strategy around every aggressive enemy. We have faced bold men before. Rommel turns to him. Have you faced one who attacks without waiting for certainty? No reply. Rommel knows the truth even as he speaks it. They have already decided. The warnings will be filed. Acknowledged. Ignored. To them, Patton is a symbol. Loud, reckless, inexperienced. To Rommel he is a pattern, and patterns kill armies when misunderstood. The meeting adjourns with polite formality. Handshakes. Salutes. Empty assurances. Rommel walks out into the sunlight, the heat striking his face like a verdict. He does not feel anger. He feels urgency. That night, Rommel dictates a message to Berlin. He chooses his words carefully. No emotion. No drama. Enemy commander exhibits exceptional operational speed. Underestimation will result in rapid loss of initiative. Recommend defensive posture adjusted immediately. He knows how Berlin works. Messages are weighed not only by content, but by politics. Rommel is respected but also inconvenient. Too independent. Too blunt. The reply comes days later. Acknowledged. No immediate changes authorized. Rommel exhales slowly. Meanwhile, across the lines, the tempo accelerates. February 26, 1943, 3:30 hours, U.S. 2 Corps forward area. Engines rumble under blackout covers. Mechanics work by red-filtered lamps. Tank crews drink bitter coffee and joke too loudly. They have been ordered to move fast, and they like it. Patton walks the line in his helmet, riding crop tucked under his arm. He stops at each vehicle. Looks crews in the eye. You will attack at first light, he says. You will not stop unless dead, or ordered. There is no discussion. Patton believes fear is useful but confusion is lethal. His orders are stripped down to intent. Advance. Breakthrough. Keep moving. Staff officers struggle to keep up. Maps are redrawn twice in one night. Supply officers curse but comply. The entire machine bends to Patton's will, grinding forward on audacity and pressure. Patton studies captured German documents. He notices what Rommel noticed: habits, defensive pauses, predictable counterattacks. He smiles thinly. They think we'll stop, he tells his staff. So we won't. Back on the Axis side, German units prepare defenses based on outdated assumptions. Artillery positions are sighted expecting pauses that never come. Reserves are held back for attacks Patton refuses to launch. Rommel visits a forward Panzer Grenadier unit and watches American dust clouds rise earlier than expected. Too early. Too fast. He turns to an aide. They're already moving. The aide checks his watch. But intelligence said. I know what intelligence said, Rommel cuts in. And it's wrong. By the time new reports reach headquarters, Patton's spearheads have already shifted the battlefield. Gaps open where no gaps should exist. Communications falter. Commanders argue about whether the Americans are overextended or deliberately baiting them. Rommel sends another warning. It is read, debated, deferred. What Rommel understands now, fully and painfully, is that this war is being fought at two speeds. Patton is fighting tomorrow's battle. The Axis command is still debating yesterday's. As German officers prepare orderly responses, American armor begins to appear where defenses were never meant to face them. Roads clog. Orders conflict. Time bleeds away. Rommel watches the situation unfold with a strategist's clarity and a commander's dread. The warning has been given. The enemy has been identified. But the moment to act is slipping hour by hour into Patton's hands. And soon, the cost of ignoring Rommel will no longer be theoretical. It will be measured in burning tanks, shattered lines, and a momentum that cannot be reversed. The Desert Fox's Dilemma. February 27, 1943, 6:05 hours, Northern Kasserine Front, Tunisia. The sun rises blood orange over jagged ridges and barren sand, casting long shadows across the battered German defenses. Dust curls around jagged tank tracks. Panzer crews grip steering wheels with white-knuckled hands. Every man knows the stakes. Every man knows that the enemy may appear from where he is least expected. Rommel rides ahead of his forward line in a half-track, binoculars glued to his face. His cap is pulled low, sweat beads at his temple. He surveys the terrain with practiced precision. Ridges, gullies, dry riverbeds, and ancient stone walls that might serve as cover. He sees it before anyone else. American dust clouds moving faster than the maps suggest. A reconnaissance report confirms his suspicion. Patton's forces are already on the move. A spearhead of M4 Shermans is advancing down a road Rommel had assumed would be empty until noon. Rommel's jaw tightens. The warnings he issued weeks ago had been catalogued as precautions. They were noted. They were polite. They were ignored. Now the consequences are tangible. Inside the German field headquarters, officers are struggling with the speed of unfolding events. Communications are lagging. Radio channels are jammed with conflicting reports. Some regiments have advanced too far ahead of their support. Others lag, paralyzed by overcautious orders. Rommel can see the disaster forming, piece by piece. He turns to a staff officer. The Americans will not wait for us to organize perfectly. Do you understand? They will hit where we are weakest. Yes, Herr Feldmarschall, the officer replies, though his voice carries the edge of disbelief. Rommel exhales sharply. He cannot enforce caution on the enemy, only anticipate it. Every move he has predicted, every defensive maneuver, now hangs on a fragile thread. Elsewhere, in the American command tent, Patton reviews maps under a single lantern. He is restless, pacing in his polished boots. His staff officers shift nervously, aware that orders are coming with a ferocity and clarity only Patton can deliver. Speed, he says, slamming a fist on the map, is the weapon. Hesitation is death. We will not give them a chance to breathe. The staff scribbles notes frantically. Supply officers glance at each other nervously. Engineers check the bridges, the causeways, and the shallow fords. Patton wants no obstacle unconsidered. Every piece of terrain will be exploited. Every weakness attacked. Back on the German side, Rommel is sending runners and signals, trying desperately to realign fragmented units. He knows the terrain as intimately as his own boots, yet he cannot be everywhere at once. The desert stretches endlessly, and Patton moves like a shadow, relentless and precise. A panzer officer reports a forward unit has been overrun. Rommel's eyes narrow. He studies the map, recalculates supply lines, and adjusts his expectations. The Americans are not just attacking, they are dictating the pace of the entire battle. Rommel's mind races. Every principle he has relied on, the careful coordination of infantry, the staggered deployment of armor, the disciplined use of artillery, seems suddenly inadequate. This is a war where speed outweighs experience, where surprise outweighs preparation, where hesitation is fatal. He retreats to a high ridge overlooking the battlefield. From there, he can see American tanks pushing through gaps his men had assumed were secure. Dust, smoke, and the rattle of machine guns fill the air. A supply convoy burns in the distance. Axis troops scramble, trying to respond, to contain, to survive. Rommel's face is impassive, but his mind is a storm. He thinks of the warnings he gave to generals in Tunis. He thinks of the intelligence reports ignored. He thinks of his own limits. He cannot stop Patton alone, not without reinforcements that will arrive too late. A young lieutenant approaches. "Herr Feldmarschall," he says hesitantly, "they are moving faster than expected. We may not hold the line." Rommel's eyes flash. "Then we adjust. We do not fight the last battle. We fight the next one. And we do so without hesitation." But even as he speaks, a creeping realization gnaws at him. This is the battlefield Patton has designed. Every delay, every misstep, every assumption of caution is being exploited. Rommel may be the desert fox, but even foxes can be trapped when the prey moves faster than the hunt. And somewhere ahead, George Patton smiles behind his map, knowing exactly how fast the desert can bleed an army dry. Rommel clenches his fists. The warning he gave weeks ago was clear. The lesson now is painfully real. Speed, audacity, and relentless pressure are weapons the Axis cannot counter. Not fully, not yet. The desert holds its breath. The next move will decide everything. Patton's momentum. February 28, 1943, 7:15 hours, U.S. 2 Corps forward line, Kasserine Pass. The sun strikes the desert in blinding sheets of light. Dust swirls along the road like smoke from an unseen fire. Engines roar, tanks, half-tracks, jeeps, moving in a relentless tide. Soldiers wipe sweat from brows, adjust helmets, and brace themselves against the vibration of M4 Shermans grinding over rocky terrain. Patton rides alongside the lead elements, his polished boots barely touching the running board. He does not need maps in front of him. He knows the land as if it were a chessboard. Every ridge, every valley, every dry riverbed is a square to be exploited. "Keep moving," he barks, voice cutting over the roar. "Do not stop. Do not hesitate. Momentum is your shield." Radio operators relay orders to the flanking units. Engineers rush ahead, clearing mines and debris, as armored columns surge forward. Patton watches the battle unfold like a conductor listening to an orchestra. Every unit is a note, every maneuver a chord. And together they create pressure that no German defense can withstand. Across the desert, Rommel watches through binoculars, perched atop a ridge with a commanding view. Dust clouds rise where American armor advances faster than intelligence had predicted. Axis soldiers scramble, trying to plug gaps that should not exist, responding to threats that appeared before they had time to prepare. Rommel knows the pattern. He has warned his generals. He has sent messages. He has tried to reorganize defenses. Yet the enemy moves faster than the Axis can react. From his vantage point, Rommel sees a battalion of Shermans crash through a lightly defended pass. Panzer crews attempt to maneuver, but coordination fails. Infantry units are overstretched. Artillery cannot target effectively. The Americans are everywhere at once. Patton's strategy is simple but brutal. Speed over deliberation, pressure over pause, aggression over caution. He forces German units to fight reactive battles, never allowing them to dictate terms. Every delay, every hesitation, every small error is exploited immediately. The German command scrambles to adjust. Orders clash. Units move in the wrong directions. Some commanders hesitate, unwilling to commit armor to a situation that changes faster than it can be assessed. Rommel's warnings echo in his mind. They are not reckless. They are precise. Meanwhile, Patton pushes his supply lines forward, knowing risk is inevitable but believing momentum will compensate. Trucks rumble across desert tracks, carrying fuel, ammunition, and reinforcements. Forward elements report gaps in German lines, and Patton immediately redirects armor to exploit them. The Axis begins to fracture. Panzer units are isolated. Infantry regiments are encircled. Artillery is silenced. The American advance is surgical but overwhelming in force. Rommel observes, calculating, adjusting, but aware that time is slipping. For the first time he feels the sharp edge of inevitability. His predictions were correct. Patton's movement is relentless, and German commanders, those who dismissed his warnings, cannot contain it. Patton rides at the forefront of his forces, not waiting, not hesitating, observing every reaction. A knocked-out German tank smolders nearby. Soldiers duck behind rocky cover. Patton points, gestures, and the armored tide flows like water into the fractures in the line. Rommel clenches his jaw. He has prepared every contingency he can, but the desert now belongs to the one who moves fastest. And Patton moves faster. Desperation spreads through German units. Confusion breeds mistakes. Retreats are delayed by miscommunication. Counterattacks fail before they start. Rommel's staff is frantic, shouting corrections over a radio network that is already overwhelmed. Every prediction Rommel made is unfolding in real time. The man he warned about, the one officers had scoffed at, has shattered their defensive rhythm completely. Every hesitation is exploited. Every assumption dismantled. Rommel turns his gaze to the horizon. Dust rises in the distance. American armor approaches like a storm. For a brief moment, silence stretches over the desert ridge. Then the first explosions tear through it. Rommel knows there is no turning back. The moment has arrived where the warning becomes reality. The consequences are now tangible. The collapse of assumptions. March 1, 1943, 9 o'clock hours, Central Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. The morning sun burns through heat waves rising off the sand, turning the desert into a shimmering furnace. German trenches, hastily dug and overextended, look fragile against the relentless advance of American armor. Dust clouds form a moving horizon as tanks roar through passes once assumed secure. Rommel rides along a ridge, eyes scanning the chaos below. Panzer grenadiers attempt to hold key choke points, but their formations are broken. Radio chatter is frantic. Commands are contradictory. Units are out of position. Ammunition depots burn. Explosions echo against rocky ridges, scattering sand and stone. Orders cannot fix this, Rommel mutters. Speed has outpaced doctrine. Reports flood in. A regiment pinned down by Shermans, artillery silenced before firing a single round, infantry caught in crossfire while trying to regroup. The Americans exploit every gap, turning hesitation into disaster. Rommel thinks back to his warning sessions in Tunis. He had emphasized Patton's relentless tempo. His generals dismissed it. Some laughed, some sneered. A few nodded politely, but none acted. Now the desert itself proves Rommel right. Across the battlefield, Patton rides forward, helmet glinting in the sun, binoculars scanning, staff officers hustling beside him. He does not linger. Every decision is immediate. Every movement calculated. He leverages speed, pressure, and deception to fracture German lines before they can consolidate. Push forward. Don't stop for anything, he shouts to the nearest armored column. Opportunity waits for no man. The Americans cut supply lines. German communications break. Units isolate themselves without realizing it. Panzer crews try to form a defensive line, only to find the enemy has already anticipated their positions. Rommel watches as everything he relied upon, experience, coordination, predictability, is undone. Every traditional tactic fails against Patton's operational rhythm. He moves his command center, attempting to stabilize the front. Flags are raised. Orders shouted. Staff officers sprint across sand, waving maps. Yet Patton's advance is a force of nature, swift, unrelenting, adaptive. Rommel's face is unreadable, but inside he calculates casualties, lost positions, and what can still be salvaged. He knows his warnings, once ignored, cannot stop the momentum now. Meanwhile, on the American side, soldiers press forward, aware of the rhythm set by their general. Each Sherman, each half-track, each jeep is part of a continuous pulse. They adapt instantly to German counter-moves. They strike where armor is weakest. They do not pause. They do not fear. Rommel recognizes a truth he cannot change. The battlefield has shifted. Speed and aggression dictate outcomes now. Defensive preparation is secondary. Hesitation is fatal. A young lieutenant beside Rommel asks, "Herr Feldmarschall, can we still hold the pass?" Rommel does not answer immediately. His eyes follow a column of Shermans crushing through a ridge where German troops had thought themselves safe. Explosions illuminate the sand. Smoke rises like black fingers into the sky. Finally, Rommel speaks, voice low, almost to himself. "They are everywhere. Faster than we imagined, and too clever to underestimate." He turns back toward headquarters, aware the desert war is now defined not by numbers or positions, but by a man's unrelenting pace. The collapse of assumptions is complete. The Axis command, once confident, is scrambling. And Patton is only beginning. The cost of ignoring warnings. March 2, 1943, 11:30 hours, German command post, Kasserine Pass. Inside the German command tent, the air is thick with dust, smoke, and tension. Maps litter the tables, smeared with pencil and ink. Officers shout over radios, coordinating counterattacks that arrive too late or in the wrong place. Panzer units report being cut off. Infantry units are trapped on exposed ridges. The desert is chaos given form. Rommel stands at the center, his eyes scanning reports, listening to radio operators, calculating in real time. Every update confirms what he warned weeks ago. Patton's speed and audacity are shattering Axis defenses. The generals who had dismissed his warnings now face the consequences of inaction. One colonel approaches, voice tight. Herr Feldmarschall, losses are mounting. Some regiments are entirely isolated. We may not contain the advance. Rommel nods silently, absorbing the news. He had predicted it. He had shouted it. But predictions alone do not fix the battlefield. He turns to his staff, issuing rapid orders, trying to consolidate defenses, reposition armor, plug gaps. It is a desperate effort, futile in some sectors, temporary in others. Patton's forces are everywhere at once, exploiting hesitation, overrunning positions before counterattacks can form. Every moment the Axis delays, American armor expands its grip. Roads are cut. Supply lines severed. Communications fractured. German units fight not only the enemy but their own confusion. Rommel moves to a map, tracing Patton's maneuvers with a gloved finger. He mutters quietly, almost to himself. They moved faster than we expected, faster than anyone expected. And we were blind to it. The generals around him shift uneasily. They can see it now. The man Rommel had warned them about, the one dismissed as reckless and inexperienced, is the reason their carefully laid plans are unraveling. Meanwhile, on the American side, Patton's orders are crisp and immediate. Push. Exploit. Do not wait for perfection. He rides among the lead tanks, inspecting the crews, adjusting movements, redirecting units to maximize pressure. He has forced the Axis to fight defensively, reacting to his pace. Every hesitation, every outdated assumption, every misjudgment is exploited. The battlefield now moves at Patton's speed. And he is merciless. Back with Rommel, the cost is clear. Units that should have held key passes are scattered. Casualties rise. Supply convoys are destroyed before reaching their destinations. Morale wavers among exhausted troops. Rommel writes notes to Berlin, urgent and precise. The enemy commander cannot be underestimated. Immediate adjustments are necessary. Yet he knows the response will be delayed, debated, and filtered through bureaucracy. He steps outside, the desert wind cutting across his face. Dust rises from burning vehicles below. Explosions punctuate the silence between gusts. The desert has become a mirror of his warning. Speed, audacity, and relentless pressure cannot be countered by hesitation or doubt. The generals who dismissed him watch silently. Pride and stubbornness chain them to outdated doctrines. Their inaction has cost the battlefield. Their indecision has amplified the enemy's advantage. Rommel closes his eyes briefly, thinking of the soldiers under his command. He cannot rewrite the past. He can only act to minimize the coming losses. But he knows. The warning was real, the danger present, and the consequences inevitable. And somewhere ahead, Patton continues to drive forward, oblivious to hesitation, relentless in pursuit, shaping the desert into his battlefield of momentum and mastery. The turning tide. March 3, 1943, 13:45 hours, southern Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. The desert sun beats down mercilessly, turning dust and sand into a haze that shrouds the battlefield. Explosions crack like thunder. Smoke curls in black columns from burning vehicles. German troops cling to ridges, dug in where they can, but every position seems fleeting. Momentum is no longer a word, it is a force, relentless and crushing. Rommel rides along the forward line in his command half-track, surveying the chaos below. Every ridge, every gully, every defensive position has been tested and breached. Reports arrive in a continuous stream. Units encircled, artillery silenced, supply columns annihilated. The Americans move faster than the Axis can respond. He stops at an embankment, binoculars scanning. Dust clouds reveal the lead elements of Patton's armor advancing with frightening precision. Tanks barrel forward through terrain the Axis believed secure. Infantry follows in tight formation, supported by artillery that has been repositioned almost before German crews can target them. Rommel turns to a young lieutenant at his side. "This is exactly what I warned them about," he says, voice low, carrying both urgency and resignation. "And they did nothing. Every second that passes compounds the consequences. German defenses falter, command falters, and soldiers struggle to maintain cohesion. Panzer crews attempt to regroup, but their movements are calculated after the fact, always a beat too late. Patton's strategy is simple. He dictates the pace, forces the enemy to react, and exploits every hesitation. In the American command post, Patton studies the advancing battlefield like a chess master. His staff adjusts maps constantly, moving units to exploit weak points. "Speed, officers. Pressure. Never stop," he repeats, voice cutting through the din of engines and gunfire. He smiles faintly as reports confirm collapsing German positions. Back on the Axis side, Rommel sends urgent messages to Berlin, requests for reinforcements, immediate adjustments to defensive positions, recommendations to withdraw and consolidate. He knows the reality: even if reinforcements arrive, the momentum has shifted. Patton has seized the initiative and will not relinquish it. Rommel's thoughts are sharp, cold, and strategic. Every move is calculated to slow the American advance, buy time, and prevent total collapse. Yet he knows that no single tactic can fully contain Patton's forces. The Americans exploit timing, terrain, and initiative with a precision that has left seasoned German generals scrambling. Around him, officers whisper, faces pale. Some refuse to meet his eyes. Others speak nervously into radios, attempting to coordinate units already too far apart. Pride and hesitation have cost them the battlefield. Rommel had predicted this. And still, the cost of ignoring his warnings is being tallied in burning vehicles and shattered defensive lines. The desert stretches endlessly, yet it feels smaller now. Patton's pace has compressed time, forcing reactions before thought can form. Every defensive measure is tested immediately. Every lapse exploited. Every assumption shattered. Rommel exhales slowly. The lesson is clear. In modern warfare, momentum and audacity can outweigh experience and planning. Hesitation is fatal. Assumptions are dangerous. And a single commander, relentless, disciplined, and audacious, can redefine the battlefield. Even as he maneuvers his remaining units, he knows that the turning tide is not just about territory. It is about initiative, speed, and psychological dominance. Patton has forced the Axis to fight defensively, reactively, and fearfully. The balance has shifted. Rommel's gaze sweeps the horizon one last time. The Americans advance inexorably. His warnings, once dismissed, echo in the desert wind. The consequences of underestimating a fast, relentless enemy have arrived. Lessons etched in sand. March 4, 1943, 1700 hours, Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. The desert is a graveyard of steel and smoke. Blackened tank hulls lie in twisted rows. Craters pockmark the sand, still smoldering from artillery strikes. The acrid scent of burnt fuel mixes with the metallic tang of blood. Silence falls in pockets between the distant thunder of Patton's continuing advance. Rommel stands atop a ridge, surveying the remnants of the once solid defensive line. Soldiers stumble through sand, exhausted and dazed. Officers shout futile orders, radios crackle with fragmented commands, and yet the Americans move with inexorable precision. They are everywhere at once. He closes his eyes briefly, feeling the weight of the warnings he issued weeks ago, the warnings ignored, underestimated, dismissed. If only they had listened. The lesson is painfully clear. Underestimating a commander like Patton, aggressive, adaptive, relentless, can undo decades of experience, careful planning, and superior positioning. The battlefield is no longer dictated by rank, doctrine, or reputation. It is dictated by speed, audacity, and the will to move faster than your enemy can react. Patton himself surveys the front from his command jeep, a map in one hand, binoculars in the other. His troops press forward with ruthless precision. No hesitation. No pause. Every gap is exploited. Every misstep punished. The desert has become his tempo. Every unit under his command beats to the rhythm he sets, and the Axis is struggling to keep pace. Rommel watches, calculating, analyzing, but unable to stop the momentum. Every move the Americans make validates his warnings. Every crushed defensive position echoes the arrogance of those who thought Patton could be underestimated. He walks among his troops, offering commands, corrections, and encouragement. The men follow, exhausted but determined. Yet the truth is undeniable. The speed, decisiveness and aggression of one man have changed the battlefield irrevocably. Rommel pauses, looking to the horizon where dust clouds rise and fall with the American advance. The desert wind carries the sound of engines, the echo of gunfire, the harsh reality of misjudgment. He shakes his head subtly, almost in resignation. History will remember this lesson. A commander who thinks faster than the battlefield changes it. A commander who refuses hesitation dictates not only the movements of men but the flow of war itself. Rommel had recognized this truth early. His warnings had been clear. His generals had ignored them. And now, the consequences were written across the sand in shattered armor and lost positions. As night begins to fall over Kasserine Pass, Rommel reflects on the price of underestimating audacity. He knows the desert will remember this battle and so will history. Patton has proven the warning real. The Germans have learned, at terrible cost, the power of relentless momentum. And the desert remains, a silent witness to a lesson etched in blood, fire, and speed. The Axis may regroup. The war will continue. But the imprint of one commander's speed, pressure, and surprise will linger forever.